Alrighty, so as you can tell, I am at Lincoln's New Salem, which New Salem is a pretty unique spot for Illinois. This is a spot that I've really never heard of until about 2 weeks ago when I bought a used book called Lincoln's New Salem. And living in Illinois, I've known that the Illinois has been called Land of Lincoln, but I never really truly understood why it was called the Land of Lincoln. Until I started reading this book and kind of doing a deeper dive into his life and where he came from and basically the background of our 16th president. So after reading this book, New Salem, which is where we're at right now, was a place where Lincoln lived from 1831 to 1837. And it was the formative years of his early 20s. He came up here through the Sangamon River as a riverman and basically stayed here for quite some time. He would borrow books, and he was a self-taught lawyer to what led to his presidency. And I figured it'd be a cool little video to kind of come down here and check out this state park. I just got in here. I just pulled into the first lot. I'm not sure what this building's all about. This might be like a interpretive center, but checked out the sculpture up front and the sign, and going to go up the hill and kind of check it out and explore it a little bit and kind of just nerd out for a little bit, because I just finished this book maybe 2 weeks ago. It was an awesome book. It explained the history of New Salem, and then the second part was about the Lincoln being at New Salem, and the third part was about the restoration of New Salem. So let's explore this town. Looks like there's a visitor center, and I think the sign said that it is open, but nice, cool area. Big parking lots. I'm pretty sure for school buses, and I'm pretty sure this place is busy during the summertime. Let's go check this out. I love a good sculpture. So this was the museum inside the visitor center. A lot of good information, a lot of original relics from the time period. As I go through all these exhibits and all the signage throughout the video, feel free to stop the video and read the information that are on these, even though I do kind of breeze through some of them pretty quickly. I was the only one in there. It was super quiet, but a lot of just awesome stuff. You could easily spend a couple hours here kind of just wandering around. A lot of old original photos. These are some of the original settlers. Up here's my favorite painting. It's Anne Rutledge and Lincoln by the Sangamon River. That's kind of a really neat painting. He was also a skilled surveyor. Here's some of his original equipment. This was the flatboat that he came up from the Sangamon River. That's probably him with the big push pole right there. Here's the grist mill. This was probably my favorite booth right here. Had some old flintlock rifles, percussion cap, his axes, powder horn, shooter bag. And here is the Talisman, the infamous steamer that made its way up to Springfield from Cincinnati, Ohio. All right, just went into the exhibit center, in the visitor center. Talked to a nice lady in there. She gave me a lot of good info, a lot of cool information, placards and artifacts and original stuff in there. So we're gonna go to the village now, check that out. Lincoln was quite the skilled surveyor. Surveyed quite a few towns around the area, including Bath, Illinois. And supposedly, and a lot of these buildings are on or near the original foundations. But there's the Lincoln Berry store. And we're going to get down to this saw and grist mill right along the Sangamon River. The Civilian Conservation Corps did a lot of restoration and rebuilding of these log cabins pretty accurately and close to what it was like in the 1830s. The old Cooper's cabin, making barrels. That's a cool little setup. Making the bands for the barrels. Old ash hopper for making soap. Man, this is so cool. Right, this is like exactly where everything was happening. Like Lincoln was here, walking around, reading his books. This was a bustling village for 6-7 years that it was open. All on top of this huge bluff that goes down to the Sangamon River, which is going to be that way, which we'll make our way to. So there's the visitor center. That's where I parked. We just checked out the Onstadt residence and the Cooper shop and the Parrott residence. Gonna take this loop around. Gotta check out that blacksmith shop. Josh, I think it was Josh Miller was the blacksmith. Then all these are basically on the original foundations or near the original foundations. And here's the Lincoln store where he basically taught himself law, tavern. Turned in, he was like basically a biographer for Lincoln. Now we'll get down to that. That looks cool. You know what? So this should be the church and the schoolhouse. God, look at those shingles. Wow. Oop, there's a dinner bell. Dinner bell or the church bell or the school bell. It'd be so cool just to kind of take a glimpse back in time of New Salem, of this village site, and just walk around and just hear the gossip and the politicking. And they do a lot of foot races here, a lot of wrestling matches. Lincoln was a phenomenal wrestler, with him being, I think, 6'2", so he's got a long reach, and he was just breaking up fights and fighting guys or wrestling guys. Just basically earning the trust and the keep. Like, he earned his keep here. Came here as a stranger, won the people over his trust and his hard work and his honesty. Cellar. Well. This root cellar is pretty cool. Obviously, no refrigeration, so you put your year's worth of garden goods and produce in here. Last you in between growing seasons. So the buildings on this portion are pretty close to where they were at, but this stretch is where they're pretty dead on how it was exactly laid out. This road that we're walking on was the exact road that people would be racing horses, their wagons, walking, reading, talking, gossiping. This is incredible. Good hardwood timbers, ravines. Beautiful. Wow. Big chimney right in the middle. That's a cooking setup right there. Cast iron, some Dutchies. All right, here's the Barry Lincoln store, which was like a grocery store. They have dry goods, necessities to live on the frontier, alcohol. That's sweet. Oh, buddy. I would get drunk in here, cause a ruckus. That's sweet. Period correct flag. Red vinegar, rye whiskey, peach brandy, Galena lead, flints. I'd spend so much money here. Kettles, copper, tin. I think this is the Hill residence, which was one of the only few homes that had 2 stories and a porch. Yep. Samuel Hill. He's even got a little fenced in yard, a little shed or a she shed. This guy was living. I love the blacksmith door latches and hinges. Before the blacksmith came to town, a lot of these were made of leather or wood. So having forged metal hardware must have been a premier attribute to your house. And here's the general store that Samuel Hill owned, and also the post office, which Lincoln was also the postmaster of New Salem for a little bit. Wow. Yep. A. Lincoln, postmaster, New Salem, Illinois. Wow. I don't know how much $5 could get you in here. Got the washboards, fine plateware, brooms, buckets, which was probably made by the local cooper that we just visited earlier. Window glass. Just the random oddities. That's so cool. More kettles, cast iron. That for churning butter. And this is the second Lincoln Berry store. I think after that first one we visited, they upgraded and got a bigger one. Oh yeah. All the crocks, barrels, ox yokes, farming implements. Wow. It just smells, it's got that certain smell in it. Wow, look at that. Candle lantern, traps. I'd be a struggling trapper if I lived here. Another thing that they would do is they would call it grabbing the gander or something along those lines, but they basically would hang a goose from like an overhanging tree branch like this and grease up its neck and have it hanging, and somebody would call and somebody would come ripping super fast down the road on their horse, and they'd have to grab the goose by the neck at full speed on horseback. And I think whoever took it or got it off kept the goose. So not only did you get bragging rights, but you had a goose dinner. The old tavern. About a lot of fist fights were fought here. Would you call me? How many shots of whiskey did it take to get that thing out? It's cool. More cast irons, lanterns, ladles. Ooh, is that a little pie iron up there? Another cool old root cellar right outside from the tavern. Go and get some drinks and some taters, beers and taters, or mainly just whiskey and taters. I'm not sure what this building is. This might be something newer. Maybe like a little museum, closed. Came here during the off season, sort of. I mean, the visitor center is open, but like the bookstore and the gift shop and this museum's closed. So I have to come back out here in the springtime. This is such a rich area to have a village, because not only do you have the hardwoods on these bluffs for hunting and foraging, but you also have the river bottom, the Sangamon River, where you could fish and trap and shoot waterfowl. This would just be a thriving community. Like, I would definitely would live here, and I can see why they planned a village for here. At the time, they thought that the Sangamon River would be a river route with steamboats and paddle boats, and at times you could get a boat up here. Actually, the Talisman steamer floated from Cincinnati through the Ohio River to the Mississippi, north to the Illinois River by Beardstown, into the Sangamon River up to, they actually did come through here on New Salem, and the waters dropped so quickly they almost did not get the boat out of the river, the Sangamon River. They got just in time, and ultimately that was kind of the fall of the town. Is it was not as promising being a river town as they thought that it would be, because during the springtime, yeah, the river floods and you can get boats up and down, but come late summer, it's a lot of sandbars, super shallow water, and over time people started to kind of slowly dissolve either to Petersburg or Springfield, or just continued heading to other counties or states. But at one time, this was a very promising community. A lot of drifters would come through on their way out west. Not sure if you can hear it, but there are snow geese flying over. It's a beautiful day, and I'm pretty sure a February 28th day in 2026 looked pretty similar to a February 28th, 1834. Besides the motorists down on the highway down below. But I'm pretty sure someone maybe stood right here and just kind of looked at their house, and after a good deer hunt, nice couple deer rubs right outside of the Herndon residence. Lincoln was a self-taught, self-made man. He had just had that natural knack, that natural ability to be just well-respected. He was a great storyteller. There'd be times where if people were feeling ill or sick, people would say, hey, go listen to a story that Lincoln would say, and legend has it that people would be laughing so hard, in these laughing fits, and it would cure their ailments. So I can only imagine just sitting around a campfire, cooking up some dinner in a cast iron kettle and just having Tall Abe just saying these insane jokes and stories that would just be erupted in hysteria. All right, so this first one is the Offutt store, and then there's Claire's Grocery, and maybe these stairs will take us down to the salt and grist mill. Yep, and this is basically how Lincoln got. Denton Offutt was like the guy that basically got Lincoln here. So it's like these stairs take us to this man bridge that goes over this road, and I wonder if that is the mill. I remember driving underneath this thing, and that's pretty sweet looking. Looks like you can't even get down there, it's closed off. But the Sangamon River, I mean, you can see a sycamore tree right there, maybe a bridge. So I bet the Sangamon River is right through here. We need to go check that out. This is a really cool area. I mean, I lived in Peoria, which is about an hour and a half from here, and never even heard of this place until I stumbled across this book by Ben Thompson called Lincoln's Old Salem. And I read it and started doing more research, and I had no idea that this place even existed, let alone how big it is. It's like over 600 acres. It's very well maintained. A lot of good information. It's taken care of. Like, this is just such a sweet little spot, and like, I feel like I've only scratched the surface on how many like different trails, and it's pretty cool to live this close to something this fascinating to me. Like, I love history, anything history, but when it comes to like localized history and Abraham Lincoln, like, I'm all about it. Like, I'm trying to learn more about our presidents in the U.S. history, and I figured what better president to learn more about than our hometown hero, Abe Lincoln, Honest Abe. Even though he wasn't born here, he was born in Kentucky, moved to Indiana, and then ended up here. So I'm just kind of starting my Abraham Lincoln journey and getting to know like where he came from, how he became in the legislature and president, and up to his assassination. So this is just a awesome starting point, because I feel like this was kind of like his formative years. This is kind of where his love for education and law was really instilled in this town. He gave a lot of credit in his older years to this New Salem community and the people that surrounded it and the people that trusted in him and respected him and voted for him and helped him out. I mean, there's a reason why they call him Honest Abe, because when he was working at these stores, if he would do his cash registers at the end of the night and notice that he was over in his register, he would go through the receipts and he would walk miles to these people to give them their correct change. This is a cool little map. One of the funny things about Lincoln is people would often call him lazy, because they would see him kind of pitched up against a tree like that, laying flat with his legs up on the tree, just in a trance of reading, or he'd be wandering the streets of New Salem, just nose deep in a book, whether it be about law or English literature. I mean, this is how you got to start. Was walking this street, borrowing books, reading, earning the trust of people, helping out farmers. I mean, this town right here was the foundation of our 16th president. Incredible. And one of the stories about Lincoln is he fell in love with this lady named Anne Rutledge. She was a local girl about his age, and he was quite fancied for her and would write letters back and forth with each other. But unfortunately, she fell ill, became sick, and did pass away. And her grave marker, or her current resting place, is in Petersburg. And we're gonna go check that out later on. But I guess Lincoln went through a bout of depression, and people were often worried that he would harm himself. But he fortunately did pull out of that depressive state that he was in. It was like a big garden area. And last but not least, the blacksmith shop. I've been slowly learning the art of blacksmithing, so I've been looking forward to kind of checking this out. Old Cold Forge. Grinding wheel. Ooh, I need one. Oh, that's sweet. Oh man, look at that forge. All the tongs. The big billow over there, which basically feed oxygen to this coal to get it just piping hot. Big vise. Tools, your anvil. Wow, dude. This is incredible. Look at that lantern. Looks like it's maybe, what, 4 pieces of 3/8 bar. I don't know if it's like spindled with each other. Man, that's so cool. This is kind of a cool residency. This is where Josh Miller, the blacksmith, he lived in this portion. And then Kelso, not from that 70s show, but Jack Kelso and his wife lived in this one, in this like little breezeway area. This is where they kind of hang out, eat dinner, gossip, talk politics. But I feel like that this house is probably my favorite. This is probably something that I would live in. Just a small little room, butter churn, some big bear traps, a little corner cabinet, nice fireplace, got the rifle up top, powder horn, canteen, just a nice little bed. And this one, this is where the old Smitty lived. Had a loom, just an honest little house. Okay, so reading some info, Jack Kelso and Josh Miller actually married sisters. So that style of house where it's kind of like joined was actually very common in those times. And I can only imagine how annoying, or it would either be annoying or you just get used to it, of the constant hammering on the anvil all day long. Looks like a cool little amphitheater down there. Probably do plays and such. But yeah, that is the village of New Salem, restored to its almost exact replica. Ooh, a couple gray squirrels over there. It is such an awesome place. If you live in Illinois or you're a history buff, this is one of those places that I would come and spend a couple hours, or even come out here and camp and just explore and hang out and learn a lot. I've learned a lot just by reading these placards and reading that book. That book is freaking incredible. I love that book. Got me a sandwich. There's the Sangamon River, and the grist mill is over yonder, but I'm gonna come down here and check out the river. Oh, sick, look at that. Nice little deer rub. But I can only imagine this, like gathering up your cane poles into lunch and just walking barefoot down those bluffs, down to the riverbanks, and just catching bass and catfish and just having a grand old time. I love these river bottoms. These river bottoms are phenomenal. Any river bottom I'm a huge fan of. Wow. This is so cool. Yeah, I'd say it does look promising. You're like, oh yeah, you could definitely get a flat boat down here, but man, you'd get beached pretty quick. Yeah, because I could probably walk across this. Not walk across it, but it's probably no more than 6 foot deep, I'd say. This must have been the old river bottom. Like the original shoreline is probably right here, and it's over 200 years of erosion just making this huge cut bank. From the village, it's probably half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, down a hill and up a hill. Easy to get to. I'm sure this river supplied a lot of fish and waterfowl, turtles, frogs, a bunch of stuff that could feed a frontier village. Cool little crinoid fossil. The optimism that your frontier village could now be connected to civilization and be able to get modern goods and news and new people. These river bottoms are phenomenal. I wonder if Lincoln ever came down here and did a little deer hunting, trapping, setting snares, or just kind of perched up along one of these cottonwoods and studied law. All right, so here's the mill. Obviously, it's not on the Sangamon River, but I wonder if this is like a representation of what it looked like with the dam, how the dam was constructed. You can see kind of like their gears in there. But the Talisman, when it was going down the Sangamon on its way back downstream, it did get stuck on the dam that looked pretty similar. And they basically had to empty the boat and do some finagling to kind of get it unstuck. Wow. It's pretty cool. Or I'm not sure how a grist mill works, but I imagine the water goes through this entrance. Like this is the dam. Water goes through here, turning these gears, spinning stuff, and then you probably have a mill somewhere up in the mill house, I'd imagine. Could be wrong, but that's my theory. All right, so I'm in the Oakland Cemetery in Petersburg. And here is Anne Rutledge, the former sweetheart of Abraham Lincoln. 1813, 1835. People leaving pennies here. Right next to a big tree. Before Mary Todd, he had Anne Rutledge. Beautiful resting place. Alrighty, so I think that's going to wrap my little day trip to New Salem. Like I said, a month ago, I have never even heard of New Salem. I still thought it was an actual town, but the town dissolved around 1837. It was bought. The actual village site was bought in the early 20th century. Then it was handed over to the state, and the state did a phenomenal job on restoring it and building basically exact replicas of these cabins in almost their exact same spot. The history of that place is just phenomenal, and there's so much good information and incredible volunteers there that answer any questions and just have so much knowledge of the history of the place and of the people that live there and of this surrounding area. And like I said, I knew of Springfield. Abraham Lincoln had ties to Springfield, but I'm kind of going down that deep rabbit hole of Abraham Lincoln and his life and legacy. But this is only the beginning. I'll probably be doing more little videos like this. This is fun, kind of exploring my home state and just kind of checking it out and just having fun with it. So thanks for tagging along, guys. If you're feeling generous, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, we'll see y'all. One thing I forgot to mention was Abraham Lincoln's brief military service during the Black Hawk War. He volunteered for 30 days of service and was elected to be the captain of their company. They marched from Beardstown to Rock Island and saw zero military conflict. When his enlistment expired, he re-enlisted that same day as a private for another 20 more days. One noteworthy event was when an old Indian man wandered into camp and the frontier soldiers wanted to kill him. Though tensions were high and the soldiers wanted to do harm to the Indian, Abraham Lincoln intervened and stopped the man from getting hurt. Lincoln ultimately saved this man's life, showing his true character and leadership skills. All of these events and actions helped build the foundation of his future political career.